Well, holy cow, Harry Carey. Hey, hey. Jack Brickhouse. It's spring training time, episode 83 of the
Oof.
podcast, Talk and Shop with Ballgame and Chop. I want to thank our Patreons and Warstick. This episode is brought to you by our Patreons and Warstick. We love you both. Also brought to you by Barry Zito, the song you hear right now. Those are the sweet pipes of friend of the pod, Barry Zito. That's Ballpark Kids. My daughters love this song. I have families around the country. They play it every time they drive to the field, and it gets them going. So appreciate you, Barry. You the man. And then lastly, this episode brought to you by Coach Ballgame's Playbook. That's right. I've got a digital class dropping March 20. It'll be 3 straight days, March 20, 21, and 22. And I'm just going to give you all I know, man. I'm going to drop it like it's hot. Anybody out there who wants to coach, is coaching but struggling, I'll give you my tricks, my tips of the trade, and confirmed guest on those live Zooms will be Chad Chop. He is going to pop in. He's going to do a few drop-ins and really just add value to this thing. And then down the road, what do I see? Well, I see Chad Chop having his own digital class on the way he works on the field. But hey, welcome, Chad Chop. That's an opener. How are you doing today, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing well. I love the Cubs gear you're rocking right now. I'm rocking my guy Coach Ball Game gear and the Attaboy shirt under it.
Come
Get the
on.
merch. Hey, get the merch. It's legit. It's comfortable. It's got a good vibe to it. You're sending out Attaboys and fedoras, and it's fun and it's cool because people recognize it. When I go out on these tournaments, first of all, there isn't a game that goes by where I don't hear the whole group go, "Atta boy," which is straight from you. So the
How
impact is
good is
real.
that?
It's
Oh,
awesome. Yeah, it's great.
love it, man. I tell the kids, hey, if you throw that Attaboy shirt on or that Attagirl shirt on at school, guess what you're going to hear all day long?
Atta
And it's just going to
boy.
pump you up. I love it, man. I don't take full credit for all of those Attaboys. That is just I am one piece of the puzzle and happy to do it. I think this podcast has done a lot for that. And this is our first tease of the day. I've got a list of topics. I've literally got like 50. I
Oof.
posted this on my social media in lead up to my digital class, March 20. We want to do a webinar, a free webinar. And I just said, in a 30-minute free webinar, what topic would you want to hear about? And man, they came rushing through. So I've picked the one I'm going to do. There's tease number two. I'm not going to tell you what that one is, but we are going to hit a bunch of these. I think me
Can't
and you
wait.
can just chew on these like seeds, like gum,
Mm.
like meat.
Yep. Source of
But
protein.
last thing I'll say about this digital class, my team, Mrs. Ballgame and Coach Queso, who we've hired on to really just organize us and get this thing off the ground. They've been amazing, extremely hard workers. And if you need a business coach, a fractional COO, somebody to just get your behonkus in line and get you organized and going, then hit me up. I've got her. It's Coach Queso. She's awesome. She's smarter than you, but she doesn't let you know that. She is a team player, but man, is she smarter than everybody in the room. And you need that person, that good teammate that's super smart. So there you go. That's my team. Um, I want to hear about your weekend. I heard you did some special things with your pups. Your turn to talk, Coach Chop.
Man, we had a 3-day tournament, and turns out when I booked the tournament, it was a 3-day tournament, and I guess most of the continental United States gets President's Day off, not Tucson. So
Oh,
yeah. So I
not
learned
not
that.
only do you not change the time, you keep your time of year. There's no fall back or spring forward or daylight
Nope.
savings. You also don't celebrate President's Day.
Nope, but we get 2 days off for rodeo, which is later this week. So figure that out. Yeah.
Arizona, baby.
Yeah, man. We're Wild West out here. So tell you that to tell you this. I went ahead and booked the tournament, and that meant all the kids got to miss school yesterday.
Top
I mean,
notch.
I'm hoping the principal isn't watching this. He should be in class right now, so we should be good. But
You taught them
yeah,
enough life lessons that it's okay to miss one day of school.
I think so. And they're all doing well in school. So mom and dad let them have a day. So tournament gets rolling. It's interesting because we usually handle teams fairly well, but we came up against some really good teams that just played beautiful baseball. And it was really cool. The third game of the tournament, typically you have 2 games on Saturday and then bracket play on Sunday, and a winner is formed. Well, in a 3-day tournament, it's two on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, and then the bracket starts on Monday. Well, we played a really good team on Sunday that beat us 4-0. Now, that's unique because we've never been shut out ever. This team scores runs, they draw walks, but give that team credit. And they did so well that when we were leaving, like I told all their parents, I'm like, hey, your boys played incredible. They made 5 or 6 like gold glove plays, and just did a really good job. Pitchers pitched beautifully. And so I told our boys after the game, I was like, hey, boys, here's the thing. This happens in baseball every once in a while. Like, we didn't lose that game. That other team won the game. We hit the ball hard. They made plays. The game was over in like an hour and 20 minutes. And these are 10 and 11-year-olds. That's kind of unheard of. Both teams played great. And so, yeah, I was happy with it as a coach. Like, hey, we didn't lose it. Like, give that team credit. So fast forward to yesterday, we were 1-2 coming into the bracket. So we were fortunate enough to be the 6th seed in the highest bracket, which is called the gold bracket, which means you're going to play the best teams. But we were the 6th seed out of, the other 5 teams that were there. So we had a work cut out for us. We had to get up at 5:45 a.m. and drive to Cactus Yards,
Sure.
a beautiful venue. And we had to win 3 ball games, So coming off of getting shut out too. So it's like, all right. So my message to the boys was, first of all, I went to the store and I told them, I said, hey, I brought a lot of snacks and water and fruit roll-ups and gushers because I anticipate us being here for the good part of the whole day. So like, I'm prepared. I'm seeing us coming out here playing like we can play. And everything that's leading up to the day is within our control, right? Like if we play pups baseball, we throw strikes and put the ball in play and play catch on defense and run the bases smart and aggressive, we're going to have a good day. And so that's the focus.
Can you repeat that? Repeat those pillars again. Those are important.
The 4 pillars of success: throw strikes, put the ball in play catch on defense, and run the bases smart and aggressive.
Right.
And coaches, it's interesting how we phrase that, right? So we say throw strikes, which is a positive, instead of don't lose them or don't give up, don't walk people. We say put the ball in play, which is the opposite of, hey, don't strike out.
Or don't chase a bad pitch.
Don't chase. Yeah, put the ball in play.
Oh, don't chase. Oh, I've got to be honest.
Oh,
that put me in a bad place as a player. I never loved it.
Because then you're just like, okay, I can't swing anymore. Yeah. We say play catch on defense, which the opposite of that, the negative is, hey, we can't make errors. No, play catch on defense. And then run the bases smart and aggressive. The opposite of that is be scared and, don't be aggressive. And some people say, oh, we didn't make any outs on the bases. Yeah, but you also didn't take any chances. So you want to kind of ride that fine line. You need a kid to get thrown out every once in a while so we can see like, okay, there's the line where we don't want to cross. So so that was the message. I also told the boys, there's no one else I'd rather be on a baseball field with than you guys. So look around. We love each other. I just can't wait for today. It's going to be so fun. And we're going to make mistakes, and I cannot wait to see how we respond. I'm looking for the response. So sure enough, that first game comes out. We score a run in the first. We give up 5 in the bottom of the first. All right, here we go. Bet. Can't wait. Wonderful. Can't wait for the response. We responded with 7 runs of our own. Bang. And then just never gave up the lead from there. The key to the game was leading into the last inning. We were up 10-6. And I was like, boys, we got to add on. You need a few more runs just so it's more comfortable going into those last 3 outs. And sure enough, we put up 3, so it's 13-6. Other team quickly had a rally, put 3 right back, but instead of it being 10-9 with the tying run on second, it was 13-9. And I got to go to the mound and be, hey, dude, guy in second doesn't matter. This is why it was important to score runs. Let's just collect outs. Let's be barters. We're going to trade runs for outs. And that's what we did. And we won the game 13-10. Second game. Now this is against the 2 seed. So this is a really good club. And unfortunately for that really good club, we were shut out the day before. And as you know, in baseball, when a really good offense gets shut out, there's a good chance they're going to put up some crooked numbers the next day. So we put 22 on them.
Oh,
and on the 2 seed, we went ahead and put 22 on the 2 seed. And at that point, I think there was a certain point in the game where I told our boys, I'm like, yeah, someone let the pups out, like who let the dogs out? Like
is that just is that just a product of baseball? That's just how baseball works? Or was there something extra in there?
No. In fact, the message that I told the boys after the 3rd game was, boys, this is just a credit to us. Like it's our process. It's our focus. We're the same team every day. Like and even for young kids, that's really hard to do. But we come out with the same energy and focus and effort and preparation every day. So you're going to have a day where you might get shut out, but then the odds are the next day, like it's going to be tough for whoever gets in our way. That's baseball.
It seems like you obviously have built a culture of, if we get shut out 4-0, which rarely, if ever, happens, it's not a life or death thing. We're going to be able to respond well. Was there any parent? Was there any assistant coach you started to smell that life or death? Oh, this is a little toxic energy, or is everybody on board?
No, in fact, multiple conversations with parents after the 4-0 game, and they were all like, dude, that was a great game. I'm like, that team played so well. I was pumped for the other team. I was like, dude, that was a really, really well play. I mean, they made 2 or 3 plays in big moments that, even at the highest level, but especially at the youth baseball level, when there's a rocket hit and a kid makes an insane play with a guy on second and 2 outs, that changes the score from, at the time it was 2-0, would have been 2-1 with a guy on third, to still 2-0. And they came in and scored and it made it 4-0. So yeah, it was cool.
And is this the same team that last year or last week laid an egg? You talked about having just one of the worst games of the season, or is this a different team you're talking about?
This is our older group.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this is our older group. So the previous one was our younger group.
Gotcha.
And they didn't lay an egg. They actually still won. Like they just didn't play clean, but they kept coming back and winning, which was like, all right, there's no consequence to be learned, but at some point we got to clean this up a little bit. So you try to figure that out as a coach of like, okay, how can we be a little bit more consistent? But this was our older group, which is supplemented with 3 of our 10U players as well. So 22-6 was that second game.
We call that putting up a 22 burger.
Oof. Yeah, that was something. And so we go into the championship game playing against the team that we had played the day before that beat us 4-0. They were the 1 seed. They had a bye until 12:30, and they boat raced the team they played at 12:30. Crooked number to small number. And so here we are. We get to play the same team, and we beat them 9-0. Yeah, we run ruled them, and we played clean baseball. We gave up 1 hit, and we swung the bat. We scored in every inning. And it was something that after the game, when I told the boys, I was like, this is a credit to you guys. Like, you're the same team every day. There isn't this real high swing of just the quality of baseball that's played. And the team that we played against was a 13-run change from the day before. They beat us 4-0. They lost 9-0. Same club. They made 5 or 6 errors. They walked guys. They struck out. Whereas we didn't make an error. We didn't walk guys. We made plays. And so got a really nice compliment from one of the parents from the other team actually before the championship game, just because the good Lord's given me a lot of experience, right? I've been around the best baseball minds. So I play a lot of shifts. I chart, I had 3 games charted against that team that we played against. So I knew the tendencies. So I took away probably 5 or 6 hits just on positioning alone. Every hitter on their lineup was a pull shift, on the ground and an oppo shift in the outfield. So I was able to, just by putting our guys in the right spots. And I think you owe that to your kids, to be prepared. They're working their tail off as a coach. You can be prepared and don't just put them where everyone puts them, where the first baseman and the third baseman hug the line and the shortstop and the second baseman are hugging second base and the outfielders are picking flowers. No, you should be able to tell based on your pitcher and the tendencies of the hitter. So it's the first time I've ever been called out for shifts being illegal in 10 and
Oh, wow.
11-year-old baseball. Turns out they banned it
Okay.
this year. Yeah, so I've got, by the time the pitch is thrown, even at the major league level, if they ban it, you can still cross over when the ball's released. So I had 3 guys on the left side of the infield when a righty was up and had my outfield shifted, and the whole game they hit it into the shift.
It also, before the pitch is thrown, it puts them there's a specific positive note that you've given them. Okay, let's move 3 steps to the left. So they've got this aggressive, positive mindset going into the pitch. They're not on their heels. They're not thinking about missing a ball or making an error. There's this specific positive thought. And we talk about that all the time. We just talked about it with the vernacular that you use, don't chase versus ball in play, so if you give them a specific positive, productive note to put into their brain, then they're not on their heels. They're not passive. They're not going to, squeeze the bat a little too tight. We got this message from a fan of the pod, and when you got that message from the parent on the other team, it made me think of it. Thank you, Coach Ballgame and Coach Chop. After listening to your podcast each week, you always renew and remind me why I coach. I think that's great, man. Maybe that's the motto of this podcast, just to remind everybody out there why we do what we do. He said, having fun and teaching these young boys to be great humans. That's what's important. So I think by you building that culture of create great humans, they weren't defeated by a 4-0 loss. And they actually ended up beating the team 9-4 in a 15-inning game. If you look at it that way, they crushed him. So way to play the long game there. Before we shift gears, anything to button up that weekend or that topic?
Shout out to Coach Pels. Adam Pels is one of our Patreons. And
Pell's
yeah,
Law.
yep. So Coach Pels and his boy Josh, it was his birthday. Over the weekend, he turned 11 years old, and my head assistant had some sick family members, so he had to stay home on Saturday. Actually, no, Sunday and Monday. So Coach Pels stepped in and did a great job while still running Game Changer. So he's still being able to run that for all the other parents, and did a great job coaching. So it was a lot of fun. I know he'll be listening. So great job, Adam.
Should his nickname be based on stepping in?
Well, he works with our catchers. I haven't asked him. I know all your tricks, so I haven't asked him what did he have for breakfast and what's his favorite color and what's his favorite superhero. And maybe I gotta ask him all that. But
Well,
he's awesome.
right. He changed the game. Like
Oh yeah,
he stepped in, and
yep,
the bullpen was called, and he answered the phone.
ready.
So maybe Coach Game Changer.
Ooh, I don't hate
Yeah,
it.
well
I don't hate
done.
it. Yeah.
Um, uh, we talked last week about a guy who had his name's Parker Bird, collegiate baseball player for ECU. In a terrible boating accident, lost his leg last year. He played in a college game just this past weekend. I'm sure most of you saw the video. ESPN, John Boy, everybody reposted it. He drew a walk, becoming the first player with a prosthetic leg to play in a college game. He did it, and I just want to give him the biggest attaboy from everybody. If you're listening to this pod, wherever you're at, just scream attaboy and maybe he'll hear it, because man, can you imagine like the defeat once you know that this leg is gone and your dreams of playing college baseball are over, and you just say no to that? That's a moving thing. It takes a different breed to bounce back as Parker Bird did. And go watch the video of him drawing that walk and the crowd going crazy, all of his teammates rallying behind him. Super special stuff. So, what do you got for Parker, brother?
Yeah, attaboy. It's just, we talked about it a couple pods ago. It's just mindset. So it truly doesn't matter what comes our way. We get the opportunity to choose how we respond. And so that's just a great example for all of us that, stuff's not going to go our way. There's going to be stress. There's going to be tough things. There's going to be moments. And we get to decide how we respond, and our kids are watching. It's a big one. That's a really big one. So we're kind of just paying that forward for them of giving them that glimpse, and we're going to screw it up. But man, Parker showed us all what, I mean, turning lemonade, right? The lemons into
Man.
lemonade. That is some sweet lemonade, dude.
And I had a President's Day camp yesterday, 100
Yeah.
kids, and the first story I told at snack break was the Parker Bird story. I have added to my tool pouch. I got Clemente, I got Jim Abbott, I got Daniel Nava, I got Jackie Robinson, and now we got Parker Bird.
He's in
How
good
about it?
company. He's in good
Yeah, he
company.
sure is. Um, Before we get to this list of topics, and we'll see if we can hit 10 of these. Spring training has begun. The all the boys are in Arizona and Florida. What is spring training? What does it do to you? How does it make you feel? What do you feel when you think, it's late February, here we go?
Yeah, it's a new start, right? So all the fans think that they got a shot, to maybe win their division or make a run deep into the playoffs. Some other fans are, lamenting the front office for why didn't they do more, and it's just that fun, everyone's 0-0. So it's cool for the fans, for the players. It's great because you get in there and hang with the boys you haven't seen for a bit and catch up on the off season, and then sneak away and go play some golf and get some good food in Arizona and just enjoy the weather. The weather is perfect this time of year in Arizona and Florida. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Even the staff gets there typically at like 6 a.m. and gets their workout in because they don't want to be in the way of the players. So they'll get in there super early, but it's fun, man. The music's loud, the coffee's hot, and the energy it's a vibe. So it's spring training is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. There is no stress in spring training. And so that's something I learned with the Giants. I remember my first year in spring training at the major league level, and I was like, man, this is such a great vibe. And one of the veteran players are like, yeah, enjoy it while it lasts, because once that season hits, there's a pressure that kicks on. And we were fortunate that year. I think we started off 45-21 or something. So the vibes kept rolling. But then we hit a skid, and you look around and all these same guys, especially on staff, that you always have good energy. They're kind of searching, right? And they're scrambling for how do we right this ship really quick. I told Boaz on the way home last night, at the major league level, there's a difference between winning and losing. When you win, the music's loud, the jokes are funny, the food tastes great. And when you lose, there is no music, the food is terrible, and no one's funny. Dave Chappelle could walk in and he's just not funny.
And how did you? I mean, I feel like you were the guy that could right that ship during a skid. How would you approach those 0-6 weeks or 1 and 20 months? How'd you do? How'd you get it going?
That was my job, man. Like Vogie, we got to get him on here. He would say I was the hype guy. And so I would look for opportunities to encourage. You're around the best players in the world and they forget sometimes. So it's just looking for moments when you can remind them who they are and remind them that an 0 for 12 is not a big deal. And the back of the baseball card doesn't lie. And it's like, you just ate all your vegetables. And now if you just stay positive and in the moment, it's time to eat steak and ice cream and all your favorite stuff. It's coming your way. You are who you are. And so these guys that have got a 5, 6, 7 year track record, even the best in the world, they get caught up in their own. It's frustrating. And so I would look for those moments to encourage, to do something funny, maybe take on a dare. You got a lot of guys in that clubhouse. Nick Hundley might whisper in my ear, hey, we need you to go do X, Y, or Z for the boys. Say less, I'm in. And so you look for those moments, or You sit down next to someone that's been going through it and you just be ready to listen. You just be there for them so that they can maybe say something, get it off their chest, and that'll make them feel better. But laughter works. Being available is critically important. I spent a lot of time in the lunchroom, especially when it was going bad, because that's where guys come in and it's time to break bread and just listen to them or ask about their family. That's a big one too. Hey, how's your daughter doing? You know, and then they get out of their own way. And that's sometimes all they need. But we had Kike on here and he talked about it, how important it is to have guys like that on staff that get it, you know, and I played. So I know how hard the game is. It's not easy. And so you just be available and be encouraging and be funny. And that's what I did. And it worked. It worked for 8 years.
I would put you right there with Dusty, a savant of people, man. You built up enough trust to where you knew what Vogie needed. You knew what Kike needed. And they love you so much because you were willing to listen and
Yeah.
ask questions about them. So
I remember talking to
I can't wait to see where your next landing spot is, man.
I remember talking to Vogie, and this was in the 2014 playoffs, and on our way to another World Series, and he got knocked out like early. I'm pretty sure. It was might have been in the World Series, and he got knocked out early. We got down 4 or 5 to 1, but we came back and won like 12-6 or something. It might have been 12-4. So we're in the outfield the next day, and I could tell Vogie's not pumped. I mean, he's a team guy, so he's pumped we won, but he was frustrated. He in his eyes, he let us down. And so I told him, I walked up next to him, I go, Vogie, I saw a cool stat that I looked at last night. Every time you toe the rubber in the playoffs, we're 5-0. So if you touch that rubber with your toe, period, end of story. If you touch it, dark box it. We're undefeated. And that's just something that like flipped his mindset.
Yep.
Flipped his mindset, dude. And that's simple. That's not a hard thing to do, but you want to look for moments. Now, did I say that the night of the after? No, I gave it 24 hours because Vogie's intense. He's awesome. You'll love him. We got to get him a big basket. He played against Kobe in high
Come
school. He
on.
had to guard Kobe. And
Bring
yeah,
him on
Rip
next week.
Hamilton.
That's the goal. Next week. Bang.
Bogey, I got to talk to Jay Smooth, Javi, to get, for some reason, his number's not in my phone, but I got to get a hold of Bogey. And he plays golf with Frenchie. So
Yep.
between Frenchie and Jay Smooth,
It's like
Javi
Kevin
Lopez.
Bacon. It's like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, yeah, but no, yeah, I'm excited too. I got a text this morning from Doc, you know,
Oh,
it's not going to happen this year because they've got a ton of staff, but Doc said it, and you know, he's got no doubt that we're going to be, you know, working together again someday. So that I firmly believe it's all in God's timing, and so you always want to be where your feet are, right? And you talk about this as parents. Sometimes parents, it gets tough with all of our moving parts, and we've got four, right? We've got four babies, and they're all playing at least one sport. A couple of them playing two, and he was playing three. So you don't want to start looking ahead of like, man, it's going to be nice when when the kids are out of the house and we've got more money in the bank account and more time. And no, when that happens, you're going to be missing your kids
yep.
and you're going to be empty nesters and going to be sad. So you want to be where your feet are and you want to embrace where you're at. And yeah, right now it's a little bit tough. And Deb and I talk about how, yeah, maybe there's not as much money in the bank account, but we are overflowing with love and joy and just stuff to do with our kids. And there's going to come a time when Titus won't be able to jump in my lap and hug me. You know, I'm going to be sending him texts and calls being like, hey, I haven't heard from you in a little bit. So just be where you're at and
I love
embrace
it,
it.
man. Nope, you're right on it. Of course, your destiny. I mean, it's what you were born to do is help a clubhouse and change a clubhouse and just hype guys up and get them out of their slumps. You're that guy. But more than that, you're a father of four and a husband of one, in God's timing, it will work. I'm wondering if you've been approached by any teams to just do this digitally, like be the hype guy over Zoom. Has anybody asked you that?
Man, I hadn't thought of that. That's not a
I
bad
mean,
idea.
I'm getting
Yeah.
hyped right now. I'm just talking to you over Zoom. You were able to take your kids to school today, come back to the office here and hype me up. So
I love that.
I would I don't want an agency fee on that.
Right.
That is totally your idea. Just go make it happen.
Man, I love that. The Zoom doctor. We had the hit doctor on last week. The Zoom doctor, Doctor
There it
Zoom.
is, the Zoom doctor. All right, let's hit a few of these topics before we close up shop. Listener, wherever you are, on the treadmill or in your car, just stretch those arms a little bit. Smell your armpits. What do they smell like?
Yeah.
Fruity Pebbles.
Yep.
Absolutely. And as Mookie Betts taught us in one of the earlier episodes, deep breath in the nose and slowly out the mouth. For coaches out there, do that once a practice. With it doesn't matter if they're 4 or 9, but teach them the importance of taking that deep breath in and blowing out. 4 seconds in, 6 out. It really calms the kids down if you need to get a point across. If you need to teach a skill or tell a story, do a little breathing, a la Mookie Betts.
We were watching TV. We
Yeah.
were watching TV last night, and I love Gordon Ramsay. I just think he's awesome, and like he's
Oh,
tough on folks, but I think he does that
watchable.
for a reason. Yeah, and so one of the chefs was having a tough time, and he's like, "Hey, go take a deep breath, big boy. Go outside." So we were watching it, and I took a deep breath with him, and Bo looks over and he's like, "You took a deep breath with him?" I go, "Bo, I just never miss the opportunity to take a deep breath. It feels great. It always feels good, you know." And so, yeah, take a deep
Reboot.
breath.
It's a
It's all it is.
reboot of the
Yeah.
mind. Um, uh, Topic number one: toxic versus positive culture. And we'll make this a small paragraph each. I'll throw it to you first, and you come back to me. But um, most of these topics are in this vein, or how to create a great culture. But how do you go about making it a positive culture right out of the gates versus toxic?
I think it's defining win. And I did not come up with this. But the acronym WIN is what's important now. What's important now. So that can take on a lot of different meanings. And so it's about your vibe. It's about making sure the kids love you. But there's moments in a game where the scoreboard might be affected by a decision you make that impacts a kid in a positive way. And so that is how you win. And if you can do that, I believe that you're going to have a good quality environment, a garden where it's going to produce good fruit.
Yeah, I wish I had anything to match that. That's beautiful. I mean, that's the same word that comes to my brain is win. If you have to win the scoreboard, then toxic will seep in. Whereas what's important now, I'm stealing that. I'm using it. I'm going to think it every day now as a coach. But um, if you are paying attention to how the kids are treating each other, my daughter she got a sprained knee this past weekend at a dance competition, and the amount of rally behind her from all of the teammates, even girls that were 10 years older than her, that were carrying her around and rallying behind her. That's a culture. That's a
Yeah.
culture where, yeah, they finished in last place, but who gives a bleep? Because that group got behind her, rallied, made her feel whole again. So proud of that group. So proud of her. Yeah.
Had a
What's
girl.
important now? Atta girl.
Yeah.
How do I engage my kids? Topic number two. How do I engage? How do you engage your kids, Coach?
I learned a lot of it from you, coach. I really did. I used to talk a lot more about baseball than I do now. I talk a lot more about life. Hey, what'd you have for lunch today? Hey, what'd you have? Hey, I love your shoes, man. Those are awesome. And so it's just in those moments getting to tell the kids that you see him as a human, you see him as a soul, you see him as someone that you love and care about. And that helps you be a better coach. So when you do have to hold them accountable, there's enough relational equity where they know without a shadow of a doubt, coach loves me. And he's just trying to help me grow and get better. But I learned that a lot of that from you.
Man, honored. Talk about life more than baseball. We talked with DR Hitting last week. It's barely baseball. Look at it like that. If it's barely baseball, then they're going to soak up so much baseball. They will. You're on a baseball field, you're running 90-minute practices, you're seeing each other 4 times a week, 3 times a week. There'll be plenty of baseball to consume. But if you can look through the lens of life, let's talk life, more than baseball, man, you got it. You got them engaged. And then you pay attention to the personalities, you pay attention to how the kids respond, their countenance, and their vibe. You pick up on it and you can become a savant of people. And man, have we had so many players come on and talk about the managers and coaches they loved. It was that. It was a life coach.
Yeah.
So I think that's perfect. Managing anxiety on the mound and in the batter's box. This particular coach struggles with that. How do you manage anxiety on the mound? I kind of think of it as the game version of a player and then the practice version. I do
Mm.
private lessons all the time back in the day, and it was one version in the cage and then a totally different version in the game. So how do you manage those anxieties?
Try to give like simple tasks where their mind's already racing. So if you can just give them a couple simple cues. So like for my pitchers, and we work on this in practice. We do flat grounds every practice. So every time we play catch, we finish with 10 pitches from the stretch where they work on getting to a balance point, separating on time, and finishing over their front knee. And those three simple cues. And so all of my pitchers, from the very best to the guys that don't get as many opportunities, they all know that. So when you get in a game and the kid's not hitting his balance point, he's rushing through and his arm's late and everything's up and away, and then he tries to overcompensate and spikes one. It's like, hey, just give me a good balance point, separate on time, and they know to finish out front. And then it's like clockwork. It's magical, but it's creating the environment and the culture of like be fearless.
And
If you
it's
can
also probably
create
your
that,
tone, the
oh
tone
yeah,
in which you say that um up just hit that balance point.
it's
Like
all yeah.
yeah, because again, they pay attention to your tone and how they think you feel about them before they hear the words.
Yep. And you're right. The tone's critical because I also layer in like, hey, you're doing great. Hey, you're doing great out there. Hey, nobody better. Take a deep breath. Hey, you got this. Win the moment. So everything's trying to get him back into the present. Those other two pitches are already thrown. The count's already 2-0. Vast majority of coaches, let's go, get in the zone. What are we
Mhm.
doing? Like that's 90%. Well, you're not coaching your kid. You're just embarrassed as the coach and making it about you. So can we kind of ease them back into the moment? They put in the work, they're prepared, they know what to do.
Yep.
Just get them back in the moment.
Those
Give
are
them a ride to the
three.
airport.
Oh, give them a
Happy
ride to the
Gilmore.
airport.
Bags are packed.
Bags are packed, baby. And those three simple cues: hit your balance point, separate
Separate on time.
on time, and then finish over your front.
That's
That
it.
those words can be said a couple different ways.
Yeah.
Like they can be said like hit your freaking balance point.
Yeah.
They can be said that way, and
Yep.
they don't hear those words. They don't.
Yep.
They just hear I'm despised by my
A
coach,
guy that I respect.
a
Yeah.
guy that I
Your
respect.
pace too, coach. That's a big one because kids, and we've all seen this, when it starts going bad, they just want to hurry it up and get it over with it. So they'll get the ball, run back to the mound, and hey, take a deep breath, your pace, you're in
Yeah.
charge. You know,
I posted a video this morning, repost from a way back. I have this character that I love. He's a catcher with a mustache, and he walks out to the mound whenever a pitcher is struggling, and he just drops scientific knowledge.
love it.
Like today's post was about an aardvark and how it's got the webbed feet of a duck and the tail of a kangaroo, the tongue of an anteater, and the snout of a pig. And I just want to
So
know,
good.
what's the genesis of that animal? Like, how was that created? Anyway, go get him, kid.
Go get him.
And
I
and then
love
you're
it.
back. Then you're back to
It's
back
perfect.
to it. But a little shift. I know caddies do that a lot with golfers. If they've bogeyed a couple of holes, you got to get their mind kind of rebooted again. So,
Yeah.
and I think with the tone at which a catcher can do that, it lets him know this is not life or death here, man. This is a game, and let's talk about aardvarks for a second.
I
So,
love that.
yeah, same thing in the batter's box. I love the simple cues. Very simple, positive. Put them in a do thought, not a don't. Um, uh, do put the ball in play. Do see the ball all the way to the bat. But again, that tone, that body language of yours, it trumps the words. You could be saying the most creative and smart words ever. Doesn't matter. They don't hear it unless the tone is there.
Be a great
Um,
athlete. That's a good one too. Hey, you're a
be a
super
great
athlete.
athlete.
Hey, be an athlete. Nobody better. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Because
love that.
I've got a couple kids that are, I mean, supreme athletes. So when they're working with Coach Deb on their form running and speed and power, they are the best on the field. But then when they get in the box, they're their own worst enemy because yeah, you can feel them thinking. You can
Mm.
feel the performance anxiety. And it kind of breaks your heart because it's like that pressure is not being put on by anyone other than that young man that we all love. So it's yeah, it's if you can clear that by just like, hey, just be athletic, be as athletic as you can be.
Clear it. Beautiful. How to coach your own kid and not create a bad experience for both of you. That was the fourth topic that came in. I mean, you could write a book on this topic, and I've gone from town to town the past couple years, and this question has come up in every town. I can be a great coach for the other 11, but the one that lives in my house, and I take to school every day. Man, it's very tough to coach them. So, what have you learned along the way? Because you coach all your kids.
The best advice I got or I heard recently from one of our friends of the pod, I believe, is no one should know who your son is on the field. So if your tone doesn't change and you coach everyone the same, I think that is the best marker that you're doing it right. And then, like Coach Baxter said, go ahead and let the kid dictate on the way home if they want to talk ball or if they want to talk, Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. Two-way street. Listen to the Duke Baxter episode because it's graduate school on that topic. He's got some great ideas. I would say the same thing. It's the best thing I've heard as I travel around. Is a parent came up to me and said, I figured it out. It's not all the way, but I figured it out. If you're coaching your kid, if somebody sits in the bleachers and they don't know who the coach's son is or who the coach's daughter is, you're on the right track.
Yep.
You're getting there. So, um, relational equity, is it different with with a different kid versus Boaz or versus one of your boys? Is it two different languages?
Yeah, I think you know your son better than you know the other kids. Ultimately, I just want my kids, and I wasn't perfect with Michael, but I get this opportunity with Boaz because of thankfully for our pod and just like all the number of just smarter people than us that have poured in and given us advice. Um, I want to be able to look back, both of us, to look back on this of like, hey, that was the time of our lives, man. We're just two best buds that get to go on road trips and we get to decide where we eat after the game and we get to be in all these cool moments and um yeah, I that's what I want. And I think that's obtainable.
Yeah.
That it's based on our tone and our expectations as parents of like, yeah, dude, Bo went 0 for 3 on Sunday against that good Desert Kings team. But then I was going through the numbers because I have to anoint an MVP because they gave me an MVP ring. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I have to pour through all the stats. And so I didn't even realize it. But like looking at Boaz on Monday, if you would have told me how did he do on Monday, I wouldn't really have had a clue. I know he did okay, he did fine. He was 4 for 4 in the first game, 2 for 3 in the second game, 1 for 2 in the championship, and made. I was like, okay, yeah, but I don't care. So it's like, I think that's important. Like the results don't matter. You love your kid and have
Yeah.
fun. You know.
I like that a lot. When you look back in 20 years on that those 3, 4, maybe 5 years that you coached him in Little League, can you guys sit around, have a beer, have a cup of coffee, and say, yeah, I those are the best days of our lives, man.
Yeah.
Use it as an opportunity, moms and dads, to learn more about your kid and to watch them respond in different places and different high leverage moments. And I think the best thing you can say every day is, "I love watching you play the game." I tell that to Avery and Aubrey before they go up to the dance competition. I love watching you dance. I love watching you trip. I love watching you fall. I love watching you do it perfect. I love all of it. Love watching you play the game. I think that's good. And side, secondly, the apology is so powerful. Being able to apologize when you're like, man, I've been micromanaging you too much. What kind of fan do you want me to be? Because I'm not perfect, and I want the best for you, kid. But me hollering at you all the time about everything and getting on you, that stems from insecurity and anxiety. And I'm sorry. I want you to know that I am sorry. It's powerful. I think you've taught me that. You've talked on that topic on this podcast about um, owning up and saying that quality you get, that stubborn quality you have where you don't want to listen, you get that from me.
Yeah,
And break down those walls. I think that's huge for your guys' relationship. Yeah.
I agree. Something popped into my head for anxiety at the plate. So I'm
Oh,
gonna
right. Going back, resurface to
yeah,
anxiety.
we're gonna
Yeah.
circle back really quick. Give the hitter a target. That really works. Give them a
Uh, give
target.
give a hitter like something to hit towards. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. So there, it's just like in golf where we're not
yeah.
thinking mechanics, we're thinking result as far as like, okay, so and you can do this based on their swing. So if you got a young stud that's a little bit long, right, and trying to do a little bit too much, have them think low line drive to the opposite hole in the infield because we really want to make sure they're thinking, especially if they're getting loopy, right?
Yep.
The flip side is if they're too steep, then you can think, okay, high fly ball to the other gap. But most of your kids aren't going to be too inside the baseball. They're usually going to be getting a little bit long. And so I've got a couple guys that's really what I do. And it really worked yesterday. And then take what the game gives you. So we had a bunch of moments yesterday with second and third, nobody out. It's like, hey, dude, all we need is a ground ball to second. Get them over, get them in, team at bat. And like the whole team erupts. And we did it. We didn't miss it yesterday. We did it like 7 or 8 times where we needed that. And then as a kid, you're like, okay, I don't have to hit a ball over the fence. I just have to get a pitch that I can hit a ground ball to second. And my teammates are going to celebrate like it was a grand slam.
Yep. Love that. That actually is a perfect segue into the next question, which is both of my sons cast. And what that means is
Yep.
basically like they're a fisher. They're fishing with a fishing rod going out like this, as opposed to going straight towards the ball that's coming. One tops it and one pops it up. How do I teach them to hit the middle of the ball? I mean, you can go even deeper than you just did, but it's not going to happen on game day. When you
No.
see it happen in game, you should not lecture them or give them a book on how to hit this pitcher on the next at bat. That's got to happen in the off season. It's got to happen during the week. The next day at practice, you can really dig deeper. But I love the target game. I really do. If they're chopping at it, uh, it especially in game, they're not going to be able to take any sort of mechanics, anything from their brain to their hands or their arms or their shoulders or their body. They're not going to know how to just have those two parts of their body communicate to be able to do that in the game. But if you say, "Hey, try to hit a pop up to the first baseman," bang, then they can actually consume that and use it well. So I love the target game, especially in the middle. What else you got on that topic of casting, chopping, popping?
Usually, not always, but usually, assuming we're on time, assuming we're in an athletic position and we're on time. If those are first, because if you don't do that, then you're going to have all kinds of mechanical issues just because you're late, you're rushing. So, assuming they're on time, I love talking about the lower half. And so, in all of our practice, especially with kids that cast, I have one of our best athletes that was casting a lot, but I told him what I learned from you is just shave your mustache. You know what I mean? So it's like this just little thought of like, usually when kids are casting, it's because they're trying to do it all with their upper body instead of like
And that's very
firing their back
common because
hip. Oh yeah.
kids don't have the confidence that their lower body's enough yet.
Yeah. So what I'll say with our older kids, if they're in high school and girls are becoming a thing, is you'd never go to a dance without your girlfriend. So don't go to the plate without your back hip. And for our younger guys, it's who's your favorite superhero? Captain America. Okay, well, the Avengers are never going to go into a battle unless it's Civil War where they're against each other. But you don't go into a battle without your best superhero, and that's your back hip. So if they can get to that point where they're firing that back hip, and then they're just trusting that this thing, I'll put it on their shoulder, which is an over exaggeration.
Yep.
But like, let your hips get your barrel to contact, and then try to extend through the pitcher and keep that barrel in as long as you can.
I love it. I think this is a good word to talk about to end our day. That word over exaggeration. Man, did I use it a lot in private lessons all the time. But break that down for me a little bit more. What is over exaggeration, and why do we as coaches do it?
Yeah, it's a great tool, and for any of us coaches that are listening that play golf, it's that feel versus real. So
Yeah.
just a couple examples from over the weekend. I had one of my athletes that when he was in the box, he would step towards third. So step in the bucket a little bit. So instead of just saying, hey, step to the pitcher, I told him, hey, think about stepping towards first base when you load. So he's feeling like he's stepping towards first and he's actually stepping straight. That's one example. Second example was one of our other great hitters. In all of his practice swings, he would come from like outside and cut his swing off and go from like the third base, he's a lefty, third base dugout to the right field line. And that's not a great practice swing. And he's a great hitter and he doesn't swing like that in the game, but he started getting to a point where he was snap hooking balls foul and hitting weak ground balls to first a couple times. So I told him, hey, I want you to think hands really inside the ball and think about taking your hands from the inside to left center. And he's a lefty, so that opposite field gap. And then right away, his practice swing was, and I told him, I'm like, dude, you look like a big leaguer. Like it went from like not what we want to like Joey Votto, in the middle of summer, getting ready to win a batting title. And so it's seeing what the flaw is in the swipe or the stride or when he's pitching, and then giving them a tool to correct it. Same thing with pitchers. So if I've got a pitcher, and coaches hear this, and if you need more detail, email us. If you have a pitcher, say a right-handed pitcher, who is missing arm side a ton, right? So righty's missing towards the third base side or up and into a righty. Have him go all the way to the third base side of the rubber and have your catcher move off the plate away, so towards first base. Now we've changed that scope, and the miss is now a strike. And if he lands it, he's probably still going to get a strike because it's just off the plate away. And so just giving little things where you can, because you're not going to fix a kid's delivery in game, but if you can give him a margin for error, we got action.
We got action. And I would just add to that a little bit. Don't expect perfection right away. I think the kid is going to expect perfection. They're going to expect that 180 switch to doing it perfect. Award the very small wins. If somebody is really chopping and you're working on, let's get inside out and go to the opposite gap. They might swing and miss, but like you said, if you notice that path is getting better, bang, that looked pro, kid. That looked like Votto. You keep going on that track, you're going to see some oppo bombs. So just know they're going to expect something quick, a quick fix, and it's never the case, even at the highest level, especially at the highest level. So the small wins are huge. I love it. I've got a fever, and the only prescription is more Chad Chop and more of this podcast. So, buddy, it's always great to see you on a Tuesday. And should we just keep doing it?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I love it. I love it. I love
One
it.
thing I want to say for coaches,
Yeah.
We get to change the lens. So when you've got a kid who's frustrated, and to your point, coach, he wants to climb Mount Rushmore in one day, which is, I think, taking a quote from Kobe. But have them fall in love with the grind. Like, hey, this is really hard and that's beautiful. If it was easy, everyone would do it and you would be bored of it. You'd go do something else that's a challenge. So fall in love with the grind. Try to absorb a mistake and learn from it and nudge yourself closer to where you want to be. But the very best players in the world, they make mistakes all the time. This is a game of failure. So it's like, hey, it's fun. And okay, great. You fell down, you get back up and try again. And so I really focus on that with my kids of like, yeah, we're going to make mistakes. Yes, practice is built and designed for us to fail, and that's okay. And push through that failure with confidence and with resiliency. That's okay. That leads to growth. I was talking to Bo yesterday about this because mom was on the speakerphone. We were driving home from Phoenix, and Deb's like, man, these kids, they still don't have any idea. Even after they won a tournament and did great, they don't have any idea that we've just scratched the surface. And Boaz is like, what? Really? I'm like, Bobo, we're like at a 3 out of 10 right now, my guy. Like we're nowhere near where you guys will be in just a few short years. Like you don't have any, don't worry about that. That's our job to nudge you there with love and respect and joy. But yeah, dude, you guys you're nowhere near where you'll be at 9 and 10 and 11.
Big picture, play the long game. I always write down little quotes that hit me during this hour, and don't chase. I wrote that down. I'm looking for the response. I wrote that down. Be an athlete. Fall in love with the grind. Win stands for what's important now. Talk about life more than baseball. Simple cues, and then feel versus real. And I selfishly use this hour chatting with you to get my mind warmed up. I'm going to spend the rest of the day writing my course, man. Just typing, writing all I can.
Use it.
To use it for my playbook. It'll be 3 straight days, 2-hour Zooms each day. And if you can't catch it live, it'll be recorded as well. But I was talking with my team and I said, man, how would I fill up 6 hours with this content? And they're like, you've done 83 hour-long episodes of a podcast on these topics with Chopper. It's endless. It really is. There's so much to consume. So I think it'll be tough to fit everything in, to be honest. But love it,
You're
man.
You're the best, buddy. You're the best. Appreciate you.
You're the man. Appreciate you firing me up. I'll be a better person today because of you in this hour. I'll be a better father because of your beard. And I think I'll be a better husband because of your hair.
John Stamos salute. Brad Pitt salute. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Golly, I woke up like this. Me and Beyonce, I woke up like this.
That's exactly right. I bet your beard smells better than it looks. How about that?
It might.
Bang. Bang.